Hi, Honey Family, and welcome back to another episode. So if you've been listening for a minute, you know that I'm one of those people who actually like Ouija boards. I own one that was handmade by a friend of mine, and I've dabbled in making a few myself for other people. In one instance, when playing with one, we got in contact with my great-grandmother, and that was a very beautiful experience. The stories tonight may be a little less than beautiful. Sit back, enjoy the show, and if you like what you hear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. Story 1. Fraternity Fun and Games. This incident happened one night in late October, 1994. I was a junior in college at the time and had very little free time to do anything because of classes and working part-time. But I was very active in my fraternity. Every year we would have a big Halloween party at one of our fraternity brothers' houses and just have a completely wild, chaotic night. But nothing can compare to what we all experienced that one particular night. I got to the party shortly after it started, got a beer, and noticed people coming up out of the basement. I asked one of the people what was going on down there, and they told me that my friend Jeff had brought his Ouija board and was down there acting stupid. Apparently these people didn't know Jeff very well. He took his Ouija board very seriously. If anything, he was addicted to it. He constantly used it and kept in close contact with a spirit named Jack that he had contacted through the board. I had come to learn that Jack wasn't the most pleasant spirit and was a pretty mean individual who had died in prison, but for some reason, Jeff liked conversing with him. I then proceeded down the stairs to see what was going on. There was about 10 people in the basement. This was not a finished basement. It was a spooky, concrete floor and dust everywhere basement. Jeff and a girl I knew named Lynn were using the board and talking to Jack. Lynn began to get tired of it. She was just trying to have a good time, and she thought that Jeff was taking the whole thing way too seriously. Before she could get up and go back upstairs, a girl we knew named Dana came downstairs. As soon as Dana came down into the basement, the board went absolutely nuts, moving around at a frenzied pace. Jeff said that this wasn't like Jack and asked the board what was wrong. The board spelled out that it wasn't Jack and just kept spelling Dana's name over and over and over. Jeff asked the board if the spirit knew Dana, and it said yes. At this point, everyone kind of just looked around, confused. Dana was looking around and looking at the board all weird-like. Jeff then asked the board what its name was, and it spelled out Michael, and said that he was 6 years old when he died. This is when Dana went ballistic. She started crying uncontrollably and shouting. We couldn't understand her because she was crying too much. She ran upstairs and out the back door. A couple of us followed her to try to find out what was going on and to calm her down. We went outside and saw Dana crying on another girl's shoulder. This other girl looked both pissed and scared. We asked her what was wrong, and she started yelling at us. How could you pull such a mean trick like that? You should feel awful for doing this to her. We were clueless. We asked her what she was talking about. She then told us that Dana had a younger brother named Michael that drowned when he was 6 years old. A chill immediately went down my spine. Once Dana calmed down a bit, she told us that she'd been trying to contact Michael over the years, but was never able to. She then offered to buy Jeff's Ouija board from him so that she could keep in touch with her brother. At this time, Jack came back, and it was like he and Michael were fighting over control of the board. Jack then told Jeff that if he burned the board that night, before midnight, that his soul would be set free and that he would be at peace. Jeff immediately wanted to set the board on fire because he had developed some sort of relationship with Jack and wanted his soul to be at peace. Let's just say that Dana did not like the idea of that one bit, so they both got into a huge argument, and the party became chaos. At the time, everyone at the party, which was only about 50 people, knew what was going on, and everyone started fighting and yelling, split down the middle on whether Jeff's side or Dana's. Eventually, Jeff snuck outside with a can of lighter fluid and set the board on fire, with Dana standing over it, crying her eyes out. As you can guess, no one was in a really good mood to party after that, and everyone ended up either staying at the house or left for home to get their heads back together. After that night, no one I know that was at that party ever talked about that night again. Not even once. I don't know how to explain what happened, but all I know is there was no way that this was some sort of trick or joke that Jeff and Dana could have played on us. Being the skeptic that I am, to this day I've tried to find out how they could have pulled this over on us. Dana was just a friend of a friend of a friend that not many of us really knew. And that night at the party, none of us knew she had a brother. Just that one friend of hers at the party that yelled at us knew anything about it. And then there's Jeff. He takes the occult way too seriously and will never use it as a basis for a joke. And if it was a trick, he's not the type to let it go. He'd make sure he threw it in our faces about how much he had scared us and what a great joke it was every chance he got. That's just how he is. To this day, anytime I tell someone about this, when I get to the part about the spirit brother, I get a chill over my body. Words simply cannot describe what it was like being there that night. And what happened, I will never forget about it. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Story 2. Drawn to the dark. My entire life I've been intrigued by the paranormal. Psychics, Ouija boards, hauntings, ghosts, everything. Drawn to it. In my early teens, I used a Ouija board a lot, which I now believe to be very dangerous. I believe I attracted many spirits, inviting them into my life this way. I could tell story after story of the things that happened to me, things that I can relate directly to my use of Ouija boards. I want to share with you my scariest experience, though. This time in my life, I was about 17 years old. I've been dabbling in witchcraft with a girlfriend of mine, candlelight spells, etc. We were complete novices at it. I would go to secondhand stores, bookstores, whatever, and look for books on spells. At this point, we had been using Ouija boards all the time. We'd bring it to school with us. We'd bring it everywhere. A spirit named Devon would always talk to us on the board. Sometimes our fingers would not even be touching the triangle for it to move. We began to realize that the spirit was not as it first presenting itself to us. It would get angry if we told it we had to go. The triangle would fly to no. It would swear sometimes. When we got really scared, we put a small statue of Mary on the board, and the triangle pushed it right off the board. And it broke. This is around the time we stopped using the board. However, I think we brought some spirits into my mom's house with us. I would hear rapping on my walls. My dog would stand at my closet with his hackles raised, barking like crazy. People saw spirits in the house. A young man in a leather coat. A young boy in the basement wearing blue overalls and a baseball cap. An old lady and cats. You name it, we saw it. I began saying the rosary every night. I kept 2 sets of rosaries hanging on my walls in my room. One night, my girlfriend was sleeping over. My room was on the 2nd floor. We were in bed. My window was open, but the screen was closed. Almost asleep, and I heard pebbles hit my window, and someone call my name in almost a whisper. I said, "Hey, Jessica, did you hear that?" And she said, "No." I told her to listen, and sure enough, we heard pebbles hit the window, and someone say, "Julie." I was scared. Having been a troublemaker in my youth, I used to sneak out of my house all the time. People used to come to my window, and throw pebbles, and I would sneak out. At this point in my life, I was trying to get back on the right track. I'd been sober for about 5 months, and to be quite frank, I did not want to see whoever was there. I said, "Jessica, can you go see who it is?" She said, "No way. You go." We heard the pebbles, and someone called my name again. I got up and went to my window. I looked out, and at first, I didn't see anyone. Then I got that feeling. You know. My hair stood on end, and I looked down, and there, sitting on the brick walkway that goes behind my house, was a white dog, staring right up at me. I could see its face clearly. Its eyes, its nose, its mouth, its head, its ears, but its body was kind of a blur. You could make out the shape of a body, but it was almost as if it was see-through. At first I said to myself, a dog. And I looked for the person. And that's when I realized that the dog was sitting there, looking right at me. And I got a horrible feeling, like it was really evil or something, and I began to doubt what I was seeing. So I said to it, "Don't leave, but don't come in." Felt like an idiot for saying it. But I did not know what else to do. I didn't want to tell Jessica what I was seeing, because I wanted to see if she saw it too. So I yell at Jessica to get over there, and finally she gets out of bed and comes over to see. She looks down, and she says, "I see a dog?" We slam the window shut, and we lock it, and we grab the rosary beads off the wall, and we pull the blankets over our heads, and we said our Hail Marys and our Fathers about 100 times. We were scared to death. The next morning, we got up, and we went outside to look below the window, just to see if there was anything there, and of course there wasn't. It's been 12 years, and I've never looked out my window at night. Not since then. Story 3. My ghost story. It started about a year ago. My friends and I discovered this abandoned house on the end of town and decided to take a look around. We went at night and brought a video camera with us. When we took it back to the house to watch it, we saw a shadowy figure at the top of the stairs. We later found out what supposedly happened was this woman that used to live there had a kid, and she killed it. She then threw herself down those stairs. We went back to the house and found all these old letters. We started to read them, and this really heavy chandelier started to swing violently. An unexplainable force went through us all. That night, we went back and plugged in this light bulb so we could see, and it was extremely hot in that house. We went upstairs for about 2 minutes and decided to go back downstairs. The second we hit the first stair, we realized that it was so cold you could see your breath. Everyone started to freak out, so we decided to leave. We grabbed a light bulb off the floor. We have to turn the lights off. Everyone started to walk towards me. Someone said, "Turn off the light." At that very instant, the light bulb in my hand exploded, turned blue, and faded away. The next time we went, a light bulb flew across the floor for no reason. Another time we went back, the chandelier was swinging again, violently. And then we brought a Ouija board. We asked it if there was a ghost in the house. And right after we asked it, we heard what sounded like a person jumping upstairs, but there wasn't anyone up there. I have no clue why, but for some reason, I felt the need to spin. So I was spinning around the room. My friends told me that I was hysterically laughing, but I don't remember doing that. What I do remember is that while I was spinning, in the corner of the room, I saw a woman in her 30s, just staring at me. After I saw her, I stopped spinning. I sat down to do the Ouija board with my friends. We asked her what its name was, and it said Sarah, which happened to be the name of the woman who wrote all the notes that we had found. And then one of the doors fell. For no reason, it just fell. And we noticed in the dust on the door was all these little kid fingerprints. We still go to the house, and we still play with the Ouija board in the house. It's kind of our only entertainment in this little town.